On the next slide in this presentation, you're going to see this linked in. So you can go to this website by clicking on the link within the next slide. What I want to do is show you how to first off use this site and then also explain what you're going to be doing with the information you obtain from this site. To start with, there is some reading beneath about the skull. Feel free to read through this if you are interested. But the main focus really is going to be on just starting to become familiar with two things. First off, using those anatomical directions, which we have just now recently covered, but then also applying them to the location of the different bones of the skull. So let's check out how this works. It will kind of default to this right here. There's a couple other things you can go to as well. Feel free to check around. These ones are not quite as interactive as this one, hence it's actually called interactive. But we can click play on this, and it doesn't really play, but it allows us to manipulate this skull on our screen. So if we give it a moment to load, now we can move around, we can highlight the different bones of the skull so we can start to become familiar with their names. You can grab the screen by clicking and holding, and you can rotate the skull. You can only go left, right. You can't really go up or down. But what you can do is you can click on the different bones. The name will highlight. It will give you some information about that as well. What I'm looking for you to do is for each of these bones of the skull, including the jaw bones, is to describe their location relative to the other bones of the skull. And I want you to do that using the anatomical directions that we have now acquired. You can do this simply by writing these down on a piece of paper if you'd like, or better yet, typing them up. I am going to have you submit them to me, and you do want them to be something that I can read, so typed might be preferred. And if you write it on a sheet of paper, you can send me a picture of it. I'm okay with that, but it has to be legible. I have to be able to read it, okay? An example would be maybe the occipital bone back here. It is pronounced occipital. The double C kind of makes an S sound. You can maybe describe this bone as being posterior to the other bones on the skull. Or maybe you could describe it as being inferior to the parietal bones. So there's a couple ways that you can describe it. It's not always going to be like one correct answer. There can be multiple correct answers. It just kind of depends on what you're relating it to. Are you relating the location of it to the parietal bones or to all the bones? There could be a couple words that could be used for either one. This is what I'd be looking for you to do. And I would be looking for each of these bones. So look for them all, start to become familiar with their location, but also start to become familiar with using those anatomical directions.